What are you nervous about, Ken?
Because I hear your contemporary, Ashley Bestock, and she was with Afternoon Drive, and they are bandying about a possible idea of Deshaun Watson playing before Shedeur Sanders. I find it to be ludicrous, Mary Kay.
Oh, I really don't think that would be the case.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, no, I don't think that would be the case. The thing that has to happen with Deshaun Watson, first of all.
Mary Kay Cabot just went on record and shut down the wildest rumor in Cleveland right now, that Deshaun Watson might actually play before Shedeur Sanders gets his shot. Yeah, you heard that right. People are legitimately debating whether a guy who's been on IR should jump ahead of the most talked about rookie in the NFL. But here's the twist. Shedeur himself dropped a hint on Twitch last night that he's getting big ready, and he's not even going to his own father's homecoming game because he's locked in on treatment. So what's really going on here? Is Cleveland protecting Shedeur, or are they setting him up to be the scapegoat for a broken offense? Buckle up, because this situation is way messier than anyone's letting on.
My name is...
I wish I could, though, but it just can't happen. I got treatment on him. I got treatment out here. I can't be I gotta get ready. Big ready.
Mary Kay, I am nervous right now.
All right, let's break this down piece by piece because there's layers to this thing that nobody's talking about. First off, the fact that we're even having this conversation, Deshaun Watson versus Shedeur Sanders, is absolutely insane. Like, think about it. Deshaun's been on injured reserve. He's not even medically cleared yet. And somehow, there are people in Cleveland media throwing around the idea that he could be back on the field before the rookie, who was supposed to be the future of this franchise. That alone should tell you everything you need to know about how chaotic things are in that Browns organization right now. But let's start with what Mary Kay actually said, because she's the insider. She's got the connections. And when she speaks, people listen. So when the host came at her nervous, asking if Deshaun could really jump Shedeur in the depth chart, Mary Kay didn't hesitate. She shut it down hard. She said there's a whole process Deshaun has to go through. Medical clearance, a 21-day practice window, all of that. And even then, she made it crystal clear she doesn't think Deshaun is in line to play before Shedeur. That's a direct quote. She doesn't think that's in the cards. Now, why is that significant? Because it means the Browns' front office, at least according to Mary Kay's sources, still sees Shedeur as part of the plan. They're not completely abandoning him. But here's where it gets tricky. She also said something else that should have every Shedeur fan paying attention. She said they want to give Dillon Gabriel a good long time to come up that learning curve. And it's not just about what Dillon can or can't do. It's about whether Shedeur is ready. And that's where the narrative starts getting messy. Let me ask you something. Do you really believe Shedeur Sanders, a guy who dominated at Jackson State and then went to Colorado and put up numbers under his father's pro-style system, needs that much more time to learn Kevin Stefanski's offense? Because I'm calling cap on that. And here's why. Pat Shurmur ran the offense at Colorado. You know who else worked with Pat Shurmur? The Browns. Kevin Stefanski's system has similarities to what Shedeur was running in college. So this whole he's learning English to Mandarin excuse that Andrew Berry threw out in the preseason, that sounds like a convenient way to justify keeping him on the bench while Dillon Gabriel gets all the reps. But let's talk about Dillon for a second. Because the elephant in the room is this. He's not getting it done. The Browns' offense is struggling in so many different ways. According to Mary Kay herself, they're not getting explosive plays. They're not overcoming negative plays. And Dillon's been turning the ball over. Yet somehow he's still the guy. And Shedeur, who had better numbers than Dillon, Joe Flacco, and Kenny Pickett in the offseason QB tracker, is sitting there waiting for his chance like he's some project quarterback. Make it make sense. Now, let's get into what Shedeur said on Twitch, because this is where things get really interesting. He was asked if he's going to Colorado's homecoming game to support his dad, primetime Deion Sanders. And what did he say? I wish I could, but it just can't happen. I got treatment out here. I can't be. I got to get ready. Big ready. Big ready. Let that sink in. Shedeur's not just sitting around waiting. He's locked in. He's getting treatment. He's preparing himself for something. And the fact that he's skipping his own father's homecoming game, a game that would be a huge moment for the Sanders family, that tells you everything you need to know about how serious he is. This isn't a guy who's content being the backup. This is a guy who knows his number could be called any day now, and he's making sure he's ready when it happens. But here's what bothers me. Mary Kay mentioned that Shedeur admitted he's a little bit banged up. Now, she didn't elaborate on what that means, and Shedeur didn't give specifics either. But if he's dealing with some kind of injury or soreness, why isn't that being talked about more? Because if he's hurt, that changes the entire conversation. That means maybe the Browns aren't trying to bury him. Maybe they're actually protecting him from getting thrown into a bad situation before he's 100% healthy. Or, and this is the darker possibility, maybe they're using that as an excuse to keep him on the bench even longer.
Nobody else is ready to support him in the way that he's going to need.
Mary Kay, your fans are going to hear about getting up to speed and closing the gap and all this terminology that just has made it seem like Shedeur was just buried before everything got started. So what was it that they loved about him so much that even after taking Dillon Gabriel, they're like, yeah, we can take another quarterback? And why do you think he's working at such a deficit the way that everybody talks about him?
Well, I think Andrew spelled it out very, very clearly in the preseason when he said for Shedeur.
Let's talk about the real issue here, the narrative that's been built around Shedeur since day one. From the moment the Browns drafted him, there's been this underlying tone that he wasn't ready, that he needed more development, that he was raw. And I'm sorry, but where is that coming from? This is a guy who played at the highest level of college football. He dealt with pressure. He made plays. He showed elite accuracy. Mary Kay herself said he has elite accuracy, and she sees it every single day in practice. So if he's that good, why is everyone acting like he's years away from being NFL ready? Here's my theory. I think the Browns are scared. They're scared of what happens if they put Shedeur in and he struggles behind that offensive line. Because let's be real, the Browns' O-line is not good. Mary Kay even mentioned that Drake May took 6 sacks in a game, but was able to make enough explosive plays to overcome it. The Browns don't have that luxury right now. They're not getting explosives. They're not getting big runs. So if you throw Shedeur in there and he takes a bunch of sacks because the line can't protect him, what does that do to his confidence? What does that do to his development? But here's the flip side. If you keep him on the bench too long, you risk killing his confidence in a different way. You risk making him feel like he's not good enough, like he doesn't belong. And for a guy like Shedeur, who's already dealt with so much doubt and criticism throughout his career, that could be devastating. So the Browns are in this impossible position where they're trying to balance protecting him with giving him the opportunity to prove himself. Now, let's address the Deshaun Watson situation head on, because this is where things get really spicy. The fact that people are even floating the idea of Deshaun coming back before Shedeur is wild to me. Deshaun hasn't played in weeks. He's been on IR. He's dealing with who knows what injuries. And yet, there's this segment of Browns fans and media who think he should be the guy when he comes back. Why? Because of his contract? Because they're desperate to justify that massive deal they gave him? Here's the truth. Deshaun Watson is not the answer for the Cleveland Browns. I'm not saying he can't play. I'm not saying he's washed. But right now, in this moment, he's not the guy who's going to save this offense. And if they bring him back and put him ahead of Shedeur, that's a slap in the face to the rookie who's been grinding every single day, learning the playbook, improving in practice, and waiting for his shot. Mary Kay made it clear she doesn't think Deshaun will play before Shedeur. And honestly, thank goodness for that. Because if Deshaun jumped the line, it would send the worst possible message to Shedeur and to the locker room. It would say, we don't trust you. We don't believe in you. We'd rather go with the guy who hasn't been here instead of giving you a chance. And that's not how you build a championship culture. But let's get back to Shedeur for a minute, because I want to talk about his weaknesses. Mary Kay brought up a valid point. Shedeur has a tendency to retreat in the pocket instead of just throwing the ball away. And yeah, that's been an issue throughout his college career. At Jackson State, at Colorado, he'd sometimes try to make something out of nothing when the smarter play would have been to just chuck it out of bounds and live to fight another down. That leads to second and long, third and long situations. It leads to negative plays. And in the NFL, where everything happens faster and defenses are smarter, you can't afford to do that. But here's the thing. That's a coachable issue. That's something that can be fixed with reps and experience. You know what can't be taught? Elite accuracy, vision, football IQ. And Shedeur has all of that. Mary Kay said it herself. He's got a very high football acumen. He's coming up that learning curve fast. So yes, he needs to work on getting rid of the ball quicker. But that doesn't mean he's not ready to play. And let's talk about the mobility thing for a second, because Mary Kay also mentioned that Shedeur's not a mobile quarterback. He's not a guy you're going to run RPOs with or design QB runs for. He's more of a drop-back passer in the mold of Joe Flacco, but without quite as strong of an arm. Now, I don't necessarily agree with that comparison, but even if it's accurate, so what? Joe Flacco had a Hall of Fame caliber career. He won a Super Bowl. He made plays when it mattered. So if Shedeur's ceiling is Joe Flacco with elite accuracy, that's still a franchise quarterback. That's still a guy you can win with. But I think Shedeur's ceiling is way higher than that. I think he's got the potential to be a top 5 quarterback in this league. Not just good, not just solid, elite, generational. And the way the Browns are handling him right now, they're either going to make him into a monster or they're going to crush his spirit. There's no in-between. That here's what I think is really happening. I think the Browns are waiting for the perfect moment to put Shedeur in. They don't want to throw him to the wolves when the offense is broken and the line can't protect him. They want to set him up for success. And I respect that. But at the same time, you can't wait forever. Because the longer you wait, the more pressure builds. And when Shedeur finally does get his shot, the expectations are going to be through the roof. He's not going to have the luxury of a quiet debut. Every throw, every decision, every play is going to be under a microscope. And you know what? I think he's ready for that. I think Shedeur Sanders thrives under pressure. He's been dealing with it his whole life. Being Deion's son, playing at Jackson State, transferring to Colorado, dealing with all the draft rumors and speculation. He's used to the spotlight. He's used to people doubting him. And every single time, he's proved them wrong. When Mary Kay says Shedeur has to be ready, I believe he already is. When she says he needs to be able to function in this offense, I think he can. When she talks about him not having the mobility to escape trouble, I think his accuracy and decision-making more than make up for it. And when she says they don't want to shatter his confidence, I think she's underestimating just how mentally tough this kid is. Because here's the reality. Shedeur Sanders didn't come to Cleveland to be a backup. He didn't spend all those hours in the film room, all that time rehabbing and getting treatment, just to ride the bench while Dillon Gabriel and Deshaun Watson get all the reps. He came here to be the guy, to be the franchise quarterback, to lead this team to a Super Bowl. And I believe he's going to do exactly that. But first, the Browns have to give him the chance. They have to trust him. They have to stop hiding behind excuses about learning curves and pro-style offenses and all that nonsense. Because the longer they wait, the more opportunities they're wasting. And in the NFL, you don't get many chances. Windows close fast. And if the Browns don't figure this out soon, they're going to look back in a few years and realize they had a franchise quarterback sitting on their bench the whole time while they wasted another season. Here's my prediction. I think Shedeur plays within the next few weeks. I think Dillon Gabriel gets a few more starts, maybe through the Jets game, maybe 1 or 2 more after that. But eventually, the Browns are going to have to make a move. Because this offense isn't working. The fans are getting restless. And Shedeur is getting big ready. And when he finally does step on that field, I think we're going to see something special. I think we're going to see why this kid was worth drafting. Why all the hype was real. Why he's going to go down as one of the best quarterbacks to ever play this game. Mark my words. Everything that's happening to Shedeur right now is only making him stronger. The waiting, the doubt, the criticism, it's all adding fuel to the fire. And when he finally gets his shot, he's going to come out with a chip on his shoulder the size of Lake Erie. He's going to prove everyone wrong. And the Browns are going to realize they had the answer all along. Conclusion. So what do you think? Is Mary Kay right that Shedeur needs more time? Or is Cleveland just stalling because they're afraid to admit they made a mistake taking Dillon Gabriel in the 3rd round? Do you think Deshaun Watson is really going to stay behind Shedeur? Or is there a chance the Browns panic and throw him back in? And most importantly, when do you think Shedeur finally gets his shot? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear what you think about all of this. And listen, if you're riding with Shedeur like I am, if you believe he's going to be one of the greats, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Turn on those post notifications so you never miss an update on Shedeur Sanders and the Cleveland Browns. Because trust me, this story is just getting started. Until next time, peace.